Hello and welcome back to SpeakNest English Podcast Zone, the perfect place to improve your English in a smart and simple way. Today's episode is all about how to describe places in English. Whether it's your home, your hometown, your favorite city, or a dream vacation spot. This is useful for students, job seekers, homemakers, and English beginners. From countries like Nigeria, Brazil, Egypt, Ukraine, and anywhere else. Especially if you want to sound descriptive and confident. Let's explore the world with words.
Okay, let's jump right in then.
Let's do it.
Today's deep dive is all about the art and, the structure of describing places. We're focusing specifically on how we talk about cities in our hometowns.
Right, because it's easy enough to say, oh, I'm from X, but how do you actually get across what that place feels like? It's character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And our source material for this dive, it's actually a pretty short excerpt. It just gives us a few key examples and pointers on this exact thing. Deceptively simple, maybe?
Yeah, like a basic recipe card that sort of hints at a much more complex meal.
That's a great way to put it. So our mission here is to take this source, this foundation, and really unpack the layers inside its simple structure.
And pull out the essential insights, what it highlights for capturing the essence of a city.
Precisely. The goal is for you, listening, to walk away with a clearer framework that you can actually use pretty much immediately. So let's unpack this. So the source kicks things off with a really direct opening line, almost like, an introduction you'd give someone. It says, I'm from Accra. It's a busy and colorful city in Ghana.
And minimal as that is, it gives you the absolute essentials right away. You get the name, Accra, the location, Ghana, and then two adjectives that immediately start painting a picture. Busy and colorful sets a quick initial tone, gives you that location anchor.
It's the necessary starting point, isn't it, before you go anywhere else? Establishes the what and the where, plus maybe a tiny hint of the vibe.
Yeah, a hint. But as anyone who's ever tried to describe their city knows, that's what's nowhere near enough to really evoke it.
Not at all.
Exactly. So the source then, it immediately adds these layers of character. It moves beyond just, location and a surface impression. It follows up with, my city has great food, warm people, and amazing history.
Okay, now this is where it starts getting really interesting for me, because it's introducing these three totally distinct dimensions that just breathe life into the description. It's not just physical stuff anymore. It's culture, community, and time.
Right. And when the source highlights great food, it's tapping into something so fundamental about identity, about daily life. Great food. I mean, it doesn't just mean tasty meals, does it? It often implies, a vibrant food scene, maybe street food culture, specific local dishes. The role of markets.
It's a sensory thing, a way into the culture, how people eat, what they eat, where they eat.
Yeah, it tells you so much about the city's history, its economic layers, its social fabric even. It's a huge entry point.
Totally. And then warm people. That adds the critical human dimension, right? Cities are, they're defined just as much by the people as the buildings.
Absolutely. Describing the people speaks to the social atmosphere. What kind of interactions might you expect? Are people open, friendly, reserved? Is the pace hurried or relaxed?
Yeah, and that single adjective, warm, it conveys a really significant feeling about the human experience of actually being in Accra. Makes it feel welcoming, alive.
It does. And then the third one, referencing amazing history, that's crucial too. History isn't just, dates in a book.
No, it's visible, right? In the architecture, street names, maybe the layout of neighborhoods, old landmarks next to new stuff.
Exactly. It gives you context. It helps explain why the city is the way it is now. Hints at the stories, the conflicts, the developments that shaped its present.
So, okay, you start with that geographical anchor and a quick general feeling. Busy, colorful. Then you immediately deepen it by hitting these three powerful sort of interconnected things. The taste of the place, the feel of its community, and the weight of its past. Food, people, history.
It's actually a really smart way to quickly add dimension. Gets you beyond the superficial fast.
Yeah, I think so too.
So the source then sort of shifts gears a bit. It gives us a sense of the physical landscape and the kinds of activities available. It lists specific types of places. There are parks, museums, and shopping malls.
Right. And this simple list, it's actually more revealing than it might seem at first glance. The mix of these places tells you something.
What do you mean?
Well, the mix tells you about the city's priorities, maybe, or its stage of development. Parks suggest, green space, leisure, public life outdoors.
Okay, yeah.
Museums point to culture, history, art, education. And then shopping malls. Well, that signals commerce, modernity, consumer culture. Maybe more inward-looking social spaces compared to parks sometimes.
That's a good point. Listing these gives you a tangible sense of what there is to do there, what you can experience. Is it a city focused on like outdoor stuff and culture, or is modern retail a really dominant feature?
Exactly. This combination gives you clues about the lifestyle, the opportunities within that urban environment. You can start to actually visualize the physical spaces where people gather and spend their time.
It anchors the description in concrete locations, gives you mental images to connect with those more abstract ideas like busy or colorful or even warm people.
Makes it feel more real.
Definitely. And then finally, the source offers this broader directive. It suggests key categories to cover for maybe a more comprehensive description. Talk about weather, food, transport, and people.
And it's pretty interesting how food and people pop up again here, isn't it?
Yeah, it reinforces how central they are. They aren't just like unique characteristics of Accra in the example. They're fundamental components you should probably think about for any city description.
Along with some new ones, like weather.
Right. Adding weather is essential. I mean, it profoundly impacts daily life, architecture, what people wear, outdoor activities, even the mood of a place.
Oh, absolutely. A tropical climate means a totally different urban rhythm than a city with, like, harsh winters.
For sure. And transport. That's absolutely critical, too. How people move around reveals so much about the infrastructure, the planning, accessibility, the whole lifestyle.
Is it a city built for cars, pedestrians, bikes, public transit? That ease, or maybe the difficulty of getting from A to B, really shapes how people interact with the city, defines its scale, its connectivity.
So this final list, weather, food, transport, and people, it almost feels like a set of essential lenses. Things to look through when you're trying to capture the practical reality of living in or just experiencing a place.
They're sort of the foundational elements of daily existence in a city, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
So you take all these pieces together. You start with the basic anchor, name, and location. You add that cultural and historical depth with food, people, history. You give a feel for the spaces with examples like parks, museums, malls.
Yeah.
And then you round it out with those daily realities, weather and transport. You can see a simple but actually quite powerful structure emerging from this source.
It guides you, doesn't it? From the general to the specific, from the tangible things to the experiential stuff.
Guides you pretty effectively.
Okay, so what does this all actually mean for you, the listener? Someone trying to, describe a city or understand one quickly without getting bogged down?
Well, I think this short excerpt, even though it's simple, gives you a really potent framework. It helps prevent that feeling of just like rambling or forgetting key aspects when you talk about a place.
It's kind of a shortcut, maybe, to making your description more effective, more engaging.
Yeah, like a checklist, but as you said, one that prompts deeper thought. You start with name and location. Easy enough.
Then you ask yourself, okay, what's unique or notable about the food scene here? How would I really describe the general feel of the people? What historical bits are most prominent or visible day to day?
And what are the key types of places? Are there tons of parks, specific kinds of markets, important cultural sites, or is it mostly defined by commerce? That kind of thing.
And then you layer on those daily realities. What's the climate actually like? How do people really get around?
By consciously touching on these points, sort of guided by the source's structure, you just naturally build a much richer, more complete picture than just saying, oh, it's big and there are buildings.
Yeah, it forces you to consider these different dimensions of urban life. Helps ensure you're not missing crucial aspects that really define a place.
And you can use this template for anything, right? Describing your hometown, explaining a city you visited on holiday, even maybe creating a setting for a story you're writing.
Definitely versatile.
So recapping quickly, we've taken this concise source and we've seen how its pretty simple structure gives us a powerful template. You start with geographic basics.
Add that cultural depth, food, people, history.
Give tangible examples through types of places like parks, museums, malls.
And finally, you reinforce the importance of those daily realities like weather and transport. Simple steps, but effective.
It moves you beyond just a static list of features, doesn't it? Towards conveying something of the actual lived experience of a place, guiding you through the essential layers.
Exactly. It's about capturing the character, not just listing stuff off.
And that simple structure is, surprisingly effective at prompting a more holistic view, I think. Okay, so here's a final provocative thought for you, the listener, to maybe mull over after this deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to use this exact framework that we've sort of pulled from the source, starting general, adding food, people, history, listing types of places, and then covering weather, transport, food, and people, again, as those broad categories, how would you describe your own city or your hometown right now? Like, what details that you usually overlook would suddenly jump out when you're prompted to think specifically about its history or its transport system or the specific mix of places within it? Food for thought.
Take your source material.
Dive right in and pull out the knowledge you need fast.
Exactly.
Today's deep dive is, well, it's built entirely from sources that are remarkably direct, really quite straightforward.
That's right. We're looking at simple lists, straightforward words, clear examples.
Yeah.
No complex theories or dense data sets this time around.
No.
Just pure practical language tools.
And our mission today really is to unpack these specific words and insights from the source, showing you exactly how they're presented and, crucially, how you can use them, like, immediately to describe places more effectively.
Yeah, think of it like getting a curated set of essential colors for your descriptive palette.
Nice. It's about giving you concrete options, right? Things you can deploy straight away when talking about somewhere.
Whether it's familiar or maybe somewhere new you've only experienced through the source material itself.
Okay, let's dive into what the source actually gives us then.
Let's do it.
The core idea it presents is focusing on specific adjectives.
Yeah.
Describing words to talk about places.
And it offers us a list to work with.
A very particular list.
Yes, with a clear example provided for each word. We should probably take them one by one, just as the source lays them out.
Good idea. First up, the source gives us.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. And the example sentence it pairs with that word is, it's a beautiful beach.
Right. And what strikes me immediately about this example is, well, its simplicity and that kind of positive universality. Pairing beautiful with beach, it feels instantly intuitive, doesn't it?
It really does.
Anchoring a general positive feeling to a specific, often visually appealing kind of place. It sort of sets a certain tone right from the start.
Simple, yeah, but quite powerful in that specific pairing.
Yeah.
What's next on the source's list?
Quiet.
Quiet. The example the source provides for quiet is, my village is very quiet.
Now, contrast that with beautiful, quiet, especially linked to village like that. It seems to focus more on the absence of something, noise, perhaps, or activity.
Oh.
It suggests a different kind of appeal, maybe calm or, peacefulness, highlighting how the source uses the place in the example.
To shape the word's feeling.
Exactly. A quiet city would feel completely different, wouldn't it?
Totally different vibe. And speaking of different feelings, the source immediately gives us, well, the opposite end of that spectrum with its next word.
Which is busy.
Busy. For this one, the source's example is, the city center is always busy.
And this pairing, busy city center, feels like the source is deliberately showing a contrast, to the quiet village.
Definitely feels intentional.
Busy here isn't just about people. It's about a high level of activity, movement, energy, like the pulse of an urban hug.
Defined by its constant motion.
Just as shown in that example.
You really get a sense of the place's character just from that pairing. Moving on, the source shifts focus a bit, it seems.
Modern.
Modern. The source gives us the example. This is a modern hotel.
This word, unlike the others so far, it talks more about style, maybe age, or perhaps technology and design.
Right.
A modern hotel, in the source's context, suggests something up to date, maybe sleek or new.
Yeah, contemporary.
A contemporary feel demonstrated by that specific type of building, the hotel.
And how does that compare to its neighbor on the list? Because the next one is
traditional.
The example provided by the source here is, the buildings are very traditional.
So when we see traditional paired with buildings like this, especially right after modern,
yeah, it feels like another setup.
The source seems to be presenting another really clear contrast. Traditional suggests history, established styles, maybe older architecture or methods.
Heritage, continuity.
Right. Defining a place by its connection to the past as seen in its structures, its buildings.
Okay, so we've got contemporary versus historical aesthetics laid out by the source, side by side. What comes after that?
Crowded.
Crowded. The source's example for crowded is, the market is usually crowded.
Now, this word relates back to busy a bit, but the source's example, pairing it with market, that adds a crucial nuance, I think.
How so?
Well, a crowded market implies a density of people, maybe even a feeling of being, packed in.
Right. Physical closeness.
It's more than just activity, it's about the physical space being full, which you can easily imagine in a bustling market setting.
Yeah.
It feels more intense somehow than just busy.
That pairing really does help highlight the difference.
Oh.
Okay, what's next?
Peaceful.
Peaceful. The source uses this word in the example. I love peaceful places.
Peaceful is interesting because, unlike busy or crowded, it describes an atmosphere.
Or a feeling.
Yes, a feeling the place evokes rather than just its physical state or, level of activity.
And the example sentence itself, I love.
Exactly. Expressing a personal preference, it emphasizes this emotional connection. A peaceful place is one that brings calm, tranquility.
At least based on the source's framing here.
Precisely.
So we've got words for appearance, activity level, age or style, density, and now feeling. And finally, the last word the source includes in this specific list is
lively.
Lively. And the source's example for lively is New York is a lively city.
Ooh, that's a powerful pairing. Choosing a city like New York to exemplify lively.
Yeah, it says a lot.
It suggests the word captures high energy, excitement, lots of cultural activity, vibrancy.
It feels similar to busy, but maybe more positive.
I think so, yeah. A more positive, engaging connotation, implying the activity is stimulating and exciting, like New York is often portrayed. It's about dynamic character.
Okay, so the source has given us these 8 specific words. Beautiful, quiet, busy, modern, traditional, crowded, peaceful, and lively.
And each one anchored by a really distinct example pairing.
They function almost like a foundational toolkit for description.
A starting point, definitely.
But the source doesn't just stop at listing the words, it gives a practical tip too.
Right, on how to actually use them effectively.
A simple, actionable piece of advice that builds on having these words.
And that tip is?
Try using 2-3 adjectives in every description.
Now this is where digging into this simple source gets kind of interesting.
Yeah.
The source isn't just giving you single words, it's suggesting a strategy, a way to combine them.
Right. Why 2-3 though?
Well, think about it. Using just one word gives you a basic sketch, right? Like, it's a busy market. Okay?
Pretty basic.
But layering 2 or 3, even just from this relatively small list they gave us, allows you to create a much richer, more nuanced picture.
Exactly. Describing a place as just crowded is one thing, but if the source showed you crowded and lively, combining them a lively, crowded market certainly uses those very specific tools to paint a picture of, intense, energetic density.
Yes. Or imagine using the source's examples like traditional and beautiful.
Traditional and beautiful buildings.
It immediately gives you a specific kind of beauty, not just any beauty.
It's the source's way, then, of showing you how to build complexity from simple components.
Avoiding a one-dimensional description.
And capturing more of a place's unique character using the precise words they've provided.
It sort of hints that the sweet spot for descriptive impact might be in that small combination, that 2 or 3.
Okay, so recapping this deep dive, we've unpacked a specific list of 8 adjectives from the source. Beautiful, quiet, busy, modern, traditional, crowded, peaceful, and lively.
And we've examined how their meaning is really shaped by those clear example sentences the source provided.
Like, it's a beautiful beach, or New York is a lively city. Those pairings matter.
And we've also looked at the source's practical tip. Combine 2-3 adjectives.
Understanding that this isn't just about adding more words for the sake of it.
No, it's about layering the specific meanings and feelings derived from their examples to create a more detailed and effective description.
It's the source's method for adding depth, using its own tools.
That's a good way to put it.
So for you listening, think about a place you know well. Could be your neighborhood coffee shop, maybe a park you visit often, or even just the room you're in right now. Can you look at the specific list the source gave us today? Beautiful, quiet, busy, modern, traditional, crowded, peaceful, lively, and use just 2 or 3 of those exact words to capture what makes that place unique for you.
Yeah, how does combining those specific concepts, based on how the source presented them, paint a richer picture than just picking one? What kind of feeling does that combination create? Okay, let's dive right in. We're looking at this set of notes today.
Right, notes about how to describe your home effectively in English.
Exactly. It's something, we all face now and then talking about where we live, but sometimes getting the words right is, well, tricky.
It really can be. And what's interesting about this source material is how it it sort of cuts through all that potential complexity.
How so?
Well, it offers a surprisingly simple kind of 3-step approach. No getting bogged down in huge vocabulary lists, just a clear path.
Okay, I like the sound of that. So our mission for this deep dive is basically to unpack that framework from the notes.
Yeah.
Figure out the logic, why these steps, and hopefully give you listening a clearer way to talk about your place with, a bit more confidence and detail. We're pulling out the key ideas here.
Exactly. And it might seem maybe basic on the surface, just 3 steps.
Uh-huh.
But I think understanding why these particular steps, and importantly, in this order, that's where the value lies, I would.
Okay, so let's unpack step 1. The notes really emphasize starting with location.
Right. And think about it. When someone starts describing a place, what's the very first thing your brain needs?
Where it is.
Exactly. Context, where are we? Starting with location just gives the listener that crucial anchor point right away. It sets the stage.
Before you get into any other details.
Precisely. Otherwise, the details don't quite land, do they?
That makes sense. The notes give some really clear, simple examples for this, too. Things like, I live in a small town in Kenya.
Yeah, or I live in an apartment in Istanbul. Just super direct.
And those few words instantly orient you, don't they? Geographically.
Totally. You get the region, maybe a sense of scale, town versus city. It manages expectations for what follows.
It feels kind of obvious when you point it out, but I can see how easy it is to just jump straight into, I don't know, talking about the garden or something.
Right.
But starting with location, it's like handing someone the map first before you describe the actual building on the map.
A good analogy. Yeah.
So, for you listening, take a second. Using this idea from the notes, what's that simple opening phrase for your own place? The one that sets the scene.
Okay, so once you've got the where established,
Yep.
the material says the next step is adding details.
Right. Moving from the big picture, the location, down to the specifics. Painting the picture, kind of.
Exactly. And the examples here cover things like, the physical facts. My house has 2 bedrooms and a kitchen. Pretty straightforward.
Okay. Factual stuff.
But also, interestingly, they include more qualitative details, like it's clean and cozy.
Okay. So not just room counts.
No, that's the key point, I think. Details aren't just objective facts. They can be sensory, what it looks like, maybe how it feels.
Or even just your impression, like cozy.
Exactly. And these details, they fill in the canvas you started with location. They give the listener something, tangible to visualize or to feel.
That difference between objective facts, 2 bedrooms, and subjective feel cozy seems really important based on these notes.
It is. The implication is you probably need a bit of both for a full picture.
Just listing rooms can be a bit dry, maybe, but adding the feel starts to make it relatable.
Yeah, I think so. It gives it personality.
So, thinking about your own home again, what are a couple of details, maybe one of each type, that really capture it for you?
So we've got the anchor location, we've got the imagery details. The third step, according to this material, is the one that really elevates it. It's about using feelings.
Okay, feelings. So moving beyond just the physical space.
Right. Bringing in the human element, your connection to it.
The notes give examples here, too, like, I feel comfortable and safe at home. Simple, but quite powerful.
Very. Or, it's my favorite place to relax. See, this step is fascinating because it taps into something universal.
What do you mean?
Well, everyone understands comfort or safety or relaxation, right?
Yeah.
So when you add those feelings, you're not just describing bricks and mortar anymore.
You're describing the experience of being there.
Exactly. It creates this emotional resonance, something purely factual details often can't quite achieve on their own.
And that connection must be huge for making a description stick, for making it engaging.
Definitely.
People might forget if it was 2 bedrooms or 3, but they'll likely remember how you said you feel there. Safe, relaxed, whatever it is.
It makes it personal.
So reflecting again, you listening, what are those core feelings? How does your home actually make you feel?
And if we tie this all back together, the insight from this source material isn't really about listing every single thing. It's about building the description intentionally, layer by layer.
Right. Starting broad with location.
Setting the scene.
Then zooming in with those key details, both the factual and the feel.
Giving it substance.
And finally adding that crucial personal layer, the emotion.
Yeah, that feeling part.
And the note suggests that combining these 3 location details feelings, even with simple language, creates a much richer picture than just, say, listing facts.
Absolutely. It's a simple structure, yes, but the power seems to come from that specific combination and flow. You're giving context, imagery, and emotional depth.
Guiding the listener through your space in a way that feels, well, complete and personal.
That's it. Complete and personal.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive into these notes on describing your home, we've basically pulled out this 3-step process. First, location.
Ground yourself.
Second, add details, the objective stuff, and the subjective feel.
Paint the picture.
And third, bring in the feelings, how the space affects you personally.
Make it resonate.
And having this clear framework drawn from the source material can really make it easier, can't it? Sharing something so personal like where you live.
Yeah, definitely less daunting. It gives you a structure, makes your description accurate, but also hopefully more engaging for whoever you're talking to.
So here's a final thought to chew on, building just on what we've discussed from these notes. Think about the balance between those last 2 steps.
Details and feelings.
Yeah. The notes present them as sort of sequential steps after location, but how might changing the proportion affect the description?
Ah, I see. Like, what if you lean really heavily on just the physical details?
Right. Or what if you focus almost entirely on the emotional experience, the feelings? How does that shift the picture you create for someone, even using this simple framework?
That's interesting. It could create vastly different impressions of the same place.
Exactly. So the question for you to think about is, when you think about or describe your own space, how much weight do you naturally give to the tangible details versus the emotional feelings? Where does your balance lie? Welcome back. You're with the deep dive.
That's right.
And here we grab some source material. Could be anything, really. Notes, an article, some research, and we just, dig in.
Looking for those key takeaways.
Exactly. Those nuggets of knowledge, maybe some surprising bits, just for you. So, today's deep dive. We're looking at a short piece focused on describing places.
Something we all do, right?
Totally. And it specifically talks about places you've visited, or maybe places you really want to check out someday.
Ah, okay. Both memory and aspiration.
Yeah. So our mission, our goal here is to unpack the source. What's its main message? What techniques does it actually highlight to, make descriptions pop?
Bring them to life.
Right. What's the simple, powerful idea it wants us to take away?
And, being able to do that well, to paint a picture with words, that's such a valuable skill.
Oh, definitely.
It's how we connect, share things, make people feel like they were there with us, or sharing a dream we have. Yeah. And this source, it sounds like it gets right to the heart of making those descriptions work, making them resonate.
Okay, so let's get into it. The source kicks off by framing description around, a personal connection. Either you've actually been there or you really want to go.
So it's not just about geography facts.
Not at all. It's grounding it in your story with that place, your experience, or your hope for one.
That's interesting. It immediately makes it subjective, doesn't it? It shifts from just the place to your relationship with the place.
Spot on.
By starting with, I went here, or I dream of going, you're immediately saying, this is personal. It draws the listener in.
And the source doesn't just leave it there as an idea. It gives examples right away.
Good. Show, don't just tell.
Exactly. And this is where we see how it thinks we should actually do this describing thing.
Okay.
So first up, an example of a place someone visited. Paris.
Classic.
And the description quoted. It's super simple. Last year I visited Paris. It was magical and romantic.
Well, that's it.
That's it.
Okay, so you have the fact, I visited Paris. Bang. Immediately followed by these feeling words. Magical and romantic.
Right.
It's not listing the Eiffel Tower or the Louvre.
Right.
It's capturing the atmosphere, the feeling it gave that person.
Which ties right back to that personal connection idea.
Perfectly.
Then the source shifts gears to places someone wants to visit, and it gives 2 examples here.
Okay, the dream destinations.
First one, wanting to visit Japan. And the reason given is, I love the culture, food, and temples.
Okay, so that's different from the Paris one.
Yeah, how so?
Well, instead of those broad feeling words like magical, this one lists specific things the person is drawn to.
Culture, food, temples, concrete stuff.
Exactly, concrete elements. So it shows another way to convey that excitement through the specific things you appreciate or are looking forward to. Still personal, I love, but using specifics.
Gotcha. Okay, and the other dream destination, Brazil.
Oh, nice.
And the description for that is, I dream of going to Brazil. It looks so lively and fun.
And that one feels closer to the Paris example again.
How do you mean?
Lively and fun. Those are adjectives describing the overall kind of vibe, right? The energy you expect.
Yeah, it's an emotional expectation.
Exactly, an anticipated feeling. So the source is showing us, look, you can use these big emotional descriptors, or you can point to specific things you love. Both work.
Right. So we've got these examples, the feeling of Paris, the specifics of Japan, the vibe of Brazil, and then the source sort of ties it all up.
Okay, what's the big takeaway then?
It gives this key instruction, almost like a command. It says to add excitement and emotion to bring your words alive.
Add excitement and emotion. Why boil it down to that specifically? And that phrase, bring your words alive.
Yeah. What do you think the source means by that?
Well, look back at those examples we just talked about. Magical and romantic. I love the culture, food, temples, lively and fun.
None of them are just dry fact.
Exactly. They're all charged with some kind of feeling or personal appreciation. The source seems to be arguing that the energy, the thing that makes a description stick with someone.
The connection.
Yeah, the connection. It comes from sharing how it makes you feel or what it means to you, not just what it is.
So that emotional layer is like the spark.
That's what the source suggests, yeah. It's the spark that makes the description feel, well, alive, not just like a list from a guidebook.
Okay, that makes sense. So for you listening, think about the places you've been, or maybe those places you're always dreaming about visiting. How can you use this simple idea from the source? Start with the place, maybe mention, I went there, or I want to go.
The connection part.
Right. And then really lean into that core instruction. Add the excitement, add the emotion.
But words capture it for you.
Is it a big feeling, like magical or peaceful? Is it something specific you love, like food or the music? Or is it that overall vibe, like lively or maybe relaxing?
Find your feeling words for that place.
Yeah. So pulling it all together from this short deep dive, the source gives us a pretty straightforward framework.
Seems like it.
Start with your link to the place visited, want to visit, mention specifics if they're what drives the feeling for you, like the temples in Japan example.
Okay.
But the absolute core, the must-have ingredient, according to the source, add that excitement, add that emotion.
Because that's what brings your words alive.
That's what it says, makes the description resonate.
Zooming out a bit, it's kind of amazing how such a short text can offer such, practical advice on something complex like describing places.
It is pretty focused.
Yeah, and it suggests that maybe the most powerful communication isn't always about, drowning someone in details.
Right.
Maybe it's more about conveying the essence, the feeling of the thing. Less is more if the less has that emotional punch.
That's a great point. Which leads us to our final provocative thought for you to chew on. If adding excitement and emotion is the key, according to this source, to making descriptions of places feel alive, what does that tell us? What happens if we consciously try to apply that same principle, that infusion of genuine feeling, when we describe, anything else in our lives? What changes? Have you ever tried to tell someone about a place you absolutely love? Maybe it's your hometown or a city you visited.
Or even just a great cafe or something.
Exactly. And the words just, they feel a bit flat sometimes, like you're not really doing it justice.
Oh, definitely. It's a real challenge, isn't it? Capturing the feel, the essence of a place.
Yeah, you have all these feelings, these memories, maybe some facts, but getting that across so someone else gets it.
Translating that into a vivid picture for someone who hasn't been there.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Totally. And that's really where this deep dive comes in. We're looking at some source material you brought us, and it offers a kind of shortcut.
Yeah, some really practical tools.
Exactly. Tools to help with that specific challenge. We're not, digging into heavy grammar rules here.
No.
The mission is really to zero in on some specific, useful phrases the material points out. Phrases that can, immediately help you paint a clearer picture when you're talking about places.
And they're more than just vocabulary, really. Think of them almost as frameworks.
Frameworks? How so?
Well, the source material gives you these key phrases that kind of guide how you structure your thoughts and your descriptions.
Okay, I see. Let's unpack this then. The material gets right into it, starting with, the most fundamental thing, I guess.
Right. You have to give someone their bearings first, don't you? You need that basic orientation.
Makes sense.
So the first phrase it points to is the simple but really essential one. It is located in.
So basic, yeah, but completely necessary. It just sets the geographical stage, gives that fundamental reference point. You can't really describe something if the listener doesn't even know, roughly where it is on the map.
Precisely. It's that initial orientation. But just knowing where a place is,
Yeah.
that doesn't really tell you why you should care about it, does it?
Absolutely not. And the material seems to get that because the very next phrase it highlights is, the best thing about this place is.
Ah, yes. This is where you start injecting some personality, some focus.
Okay.
Using this phrase, you're immediately pointing to a key positive aspect, often something quite personal or like a strong recommendation.
So it sort of cuts to the chase. Like, here's the absolute standout feature, at least for me.
Exactly. It's a powerful way to grab attention and maybe make a connection.
Right. It lets you really put your finger on the pulse of what makes it great for you.
Yeah.
Now, slightly different, but kind of exploring a similar area. The material also gives us what makes this place special is.
Yeah, and this one prompts a slightly different kind of thinking, I find.
How so?
Well, the best thing might be quite subjective, a single highlight. But what makes it special that often pushes you towards more unique qualities, defining characteristics, things that really set the place apart from others. It encourages you to think about its distinctiveness, its unique essence, maybe beyond just a single best feature.
So best thing is maybe the top highlight, perhaps personal, while special is more about its unique identity or character.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. The material kind of nudges you towards that distinction without explicitly saying it.
Interesting.
They work well together, actually.
Yeah.
You can talk about personal highlights and inherent uniqueness.
Got it. So we know where it is. We know what's great about it, maybe the best thing, and what makes it unique. What about actually getting someone to, go there? The material has something for that too, right?
It does. The phrase, "you must visit it because."
That's pretty direct.
It is. It's a clear call to action. It shifts from just describing to, persuading.
Right.
By saying you must visit, you're basically setting up the rest of your sentence as the compelling reasons why someone should experience it. But because really demands you follow up with the value proposition.
Yeah, it turns your description into an invitation, almost a challenge. Like, okay, I've got your attention. Now here's why you absolutely need to check this out.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It puts the onus on you to be persuasive.
And the material even gives a sort of example of common reasons, doesn't it?
Yes. Which leads us to the final phrase, or rather the example pair it provides. It has a rich history and friendly people.
Okay, that sounds familiar. You hear that kind of description a lot.
You do. And it's interesting because it bundles two very common, very appealing attributes, things people often look for.
Like rich history that suggests depth, culture, maybe stories.
Exactly. And friendly people speaks to the atmosphere, the welcome, the human side of things.
So it's a really concise way to signal both substance and warmth. Yeah.
Two things that make a place feel inviting, feel significant. It's efficient.
Yeah, instead of listing historical facts or explaining how the people are friendly, that phrase it communicates a lot very quickly.
It does. And what's fascinating, I think, when you look at all these phrases together from the source material located in best thing special, must visit because, and that rich history-friendly people example.
Yeah.
It's how they cover these different sort of angles of description.
Yeah.
They move from the purely factual, the concrete location, to the subjective and unique, the best and special. Then into persuasion with must visit. And finally, giving examples of commonly valued characteristics like history and people.
It's almost like they give you a little checklist for describing a place well, instead of just, rambling.
Exactly.
These phrases give you structured hooks to hang your ideas on.
And if we connect that to the bigger picture, these aren't just random sentences to memorize. They really act as strategic tools.
Okay.
By prompting you to think in these specific ways: location, best part, unique essence, reason to visit, key characteristics, the material gives you a structured approach.
So it guides your thinking before you even speak.
Precisely. They are, like we said, frameworks for thought, which then become frameworks for communication.
That really is the aha moment here, isn't it? They don't just give you words, they give you a method. So for you, the listener, this isn't just abstract stuff. These phrases from the source material are, practical tools, things you can pick up and start using pretty much immediately when you talk about places.
Absolutely. And the material actually suggests putting them into practice right away.
How?
Well, think about a place you know well. Could be your favorite park, the town you grew up in, a city you loved visiting.
Okay.
Try describing it, even just to yourself, using each of these phrases as a guide. It is located in. The best thing is, what makes it special is.
Right. So instead of just saying, oh, London's great,
Yeah.
you could say, okay, well, it's located in England, obviously. The best thing about London for me is probably the sheer energy of the place. What makes it special is how history and modernity exist side by side everywhere. You really must visit it because the cultural diversity is incredible. And yeah, it definitely has a rich history and surprisingly friendly people in the local pubs.
See? Much more vivid already.
Yeah, it structures it.
Or even when you're learning about a new place. As you read or hear about it, try slotting the information you find into these phrase structures in your mind.
Ah, so it helps organize the information too.
Definitely. It helps organize it for yourself and make it much easier to share later. It turns just gathering facts into actually building a description.
That makes that whole task of turning facts and feelings into words feel much more manageable, doesn't it?
It really does. You've got these linguistic building blocks ready to use.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive then, the source material gave us this really concise but actually quite powerful set of phrases. They're designed to make describing places in English more effective, more accessible. We talked about it is located in for that basic orientation.
Crucial first step.
Then the best thing about this place is for highlighting a key positive, often personal.
Right, the standout feature.
What makes this place special is digging into that unique essence or character.
Its distinctiveness.
You must visit it because that direct call to action, framing your persuasive points.
Turning description into invitation.
And finally, that example of it has a rich history and friendly people, showing how to convey common positive attributes quickly.
Yeah, bundling those appealing characteristics.
These aren't just, phrases to learn by rote. As you said, they're strategic tools.
Exactly. They offer immediate ways to structure your thinking and communicate the key dimensions of a place. The goal is giving others a clearer and hopefully more engaging picture.
It definitely gives you a pathway to better descriptions.
Which actually brings up an interesting final thought building on this.
Oh, yeah.
Well, considering how these specific phrases seem to guide both our thinking and our communication about places, how profoundly can a simple, well-chosen linguistic frame, like the ones we discussed, truly shape the entire picture someone forms, especially for a place they've never even set foot in?
That's a deep question. Like, how much power is really held in just a few specific words when we're trying to share our world?
Exactly. Something to think about the real power of specific language in creating connection and understanding when we describe the world around us.
Okay, let's jump right in. We're doing a deep dive today, looking at this source material you shared. It's all about, how to describe places effectively in English.
Exactly. It sounds simple, but getting that feeling of a place across with just words, that's something else, isn't it?
It really is. So our mission for this dive is basically to pull out the most useful bits from these sources. The key nuggets that can help you listening paint much clearer pictures when you talk about places.
Yeah, kind of like upgrading your descriptive skills.
Yeah.
Moving beyond just, it was nice.
And the sources actually give us a great way to start thinking about this. They have this sample conversation.
Oh, right, where someone asked about a hometown.
Yeah, exactly. And the answer describes Addis Ababa.
Okay, yeah, I remember that. And looking at how they described it is pretty revealing.
Totally. They didn't just say, oh, it's a city. They mentioned, okay, it's the capital of Ethiopia. That gives you some context, right?
Factual grounding, yeah. But then they added more layers.
Right, like it's a big city. Okay, so we get a sense of scale. But then, crucially, they added stuff like friendly people.
And tasty food. That's sensory.
And cool weather. That's something you'd feel. It's getting more experiential.
It is. And the sources also pointed out that the description included specific things to see or do, like museums, parks.
Lots of shops, yeah.
So it's this mix, isn't it? The factual stuff, the general vibe, the sensory details, and the specific features.
Absolutely. Capital cities, size, people's attitude, food taste, the weather, things to actually do there. It's that combination, like the sources are showing us, that really starts to build a picture, not just one type of detail.
It's like having different colors on your palette, maybe.
Yeah.
You need a mix to make it vivid.
Good analogy. Which kind of leads us to the why. Why bother with all this detail? And one part of the source material really hits on this.
The part about painting pictures with words.
Yes, that core idea. Your words literally create an image or, an experience for the person listening.
It's powerful when you think about it like that.
And the source gives that really clear contrast. It says basically, don't just say it's nice.
Right, because nice is so empty. What does it even mean? Could be anything.
Exactly. It's like a completely blurry photo, as you said before. But then they give helpful options. They suggest saying something like, it's peaceful, green, and full of history.
Now that starts working. Peaceful? Okay, I'm thinking calm, quiet maybe.
Green. You see parks, trees, nature.
And full of history makes you imagine, I don't know, old buildings, maybe some stories behind the place. Specific things start popping into your head.
You can almost feel the difference, can't you? Between just hearing it's nice versus it's peaceful, green, and full of history.
Yeah, big difference. And the sources really emphasize the impact that has. It helps the listener see it in their mind's eye.
See it, feel it, maybe even remember it better.
And it creates connection. That's the key thing the sources seem to be saying. When you use words that let someone visualize or emotionally resonate with a place.
Or plugged in.
Exactly. You're not just giving them data points off a map. You're sort of sharing an experience, inviting them into your memory of it.
Yeah, think about trying to tell someone about, I don't know, your favorite cafe. Saying it's nice tells them nothing.
Nope.
But if you say, they have these really comfy old armchairs, it always smells like coffee and cinnamon, and the sunlight hits this one table perfectly in the morning.
Okay, now I can start to picture it. I can almost feel sitting there. It connects to my own experiences of cafes.
Precisely. And that's the power the sources are highlighting. Taking what you see and feel and translating it into language that sparks something in the listener. So this whole deep dive, using your sources, is about unpacking those strategies so you can do that better.
Yeah, helping you create those vivid images, making your descriptions really land. It's about turning your perception into something someone else can perceive too.
So bringing this deep dive to a close then, the really big takeaway, I think, from all this source material is just how powerful specific descriptive words are. They can completely transform a simple statement about a place.
It lifts it from just information into something closer to an actual experience for the listener.
Yeah, something they can connect with.
And that connection point, like the sources kept bringing up, that's really crucial. It's not just about being a good describer. It's about building a bridge with the person you're talking to, sharing something more meaningful.
Definitely. So maybe a final thought for you to take away, kind of building on this idea from the sources about observing and translating. How might consciously paying more attention to the little details?
The specifics.
Yeah, the specific details of places you go to every day or places you visit. You know, the unique sounds, the way things feel, the particular smells, the specific mood. How could really noticing that stuff better equip you to capture the genuine essence of those places next time you try to describe them?